Shocker, it's going to involve Micah Parsons, who by now most Penn State fans know is on the move. They still like his progress, Greg, but James Franklin talked about it last week. He began spring as a middle linebacker, a position he really wasn't too accustomed to, and now he's on the weak-sided outside linebacker playing the will position. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you think, but to me it says either one of two things. Either Ellis Brooks has really shined in a sharing role with Micah Parsons, so much so that Penn State said, okay, let's move Micah to the outside, take advantage of his athleticism and all the things he can do, why he was a five-star recruit, why he was labeled as a freakish athlete, so on and so forth. So the question becomes, was it Ellis Brooks' rise that forced this move, or is it the very realistic possibility that trying to play middle linebacker as a January enrollee true freshman is, I don't want to say it's impossible, Bob, but it's very difficult to do, to get all of the things that you have to be a college football player down on and off the field, and then run a defense as a guy that's been on campus for 3 months is really, really difficult. Either way, I think Penn State's fine at the spot, but there certainly is a one or the other kind of scenario that would explain why they're moving him back outside.
Yeah, Penn State's got some veterans, too, that could help in Jake Cooper and Jan Johnson, but I think James tipped his hand. You had actually asked him about Micah last week, but the week before, you know, because he always gets asked about the January enrollees, and invariably Micah gets asked about a lot because he's such a blue chip recruit and a talent. But he said, hey, just, you know, Ellis Brooks is actually ahead of all of the freshmen, and that was a kind of a signal that they still had some ground to make up to kind of catch him. And then before he talked about Micah moving, he said, I thought something that was very interesting. He said, you know, Micah, one of his great assets is his speed. He's a phenomenal athlete, and he can run down plays, but he said, he talked about kind of like the fact that he's not always necessarily shooting through the right gap or in the right spot, but he has the speed to kind of compensate, and James said it's one of those things where you're like, oh no, oh no, oh no, hey, great play. So you just wonder if maybe he's a little bit too much of a freelancer at this stage in his career, and he's got to maybe be a little bit more sound to play in the middle. I think outside linebacker really helps him kind of, because you can show off his speed, he can be more effective on the blitz. I think they want somebody in the middle that kind of is a little bit more in tune with, you know, playing sound defense. And I think Michael will pick that up. But I think right now Ellis Brooks is probably the better option. I'm just curious to see if he will at all, James will turn to any of the veterans. I'm not sure. Yeah,
at this point in time, I mean, Jake Cooper struggled to stay healthy. Jan Johnson had an off-field injury. So, I mean, there's a lot of question marks with those guys, Bob. And then when you mention Ellis Brooks being ahead of the other freshmen, forget about Nick Tarburton and Jesse Lucada, two guys that also enrolled in January that also could play middle linebacker. It tells me that Ellis Brooks is the leader in the clubhouse. Someone would have to step up and challenge